Hello, my lovelies, and welcome to What I Eat in a Day, January edition. I want to try to do this each month now, where I find out what vegetables are in season for that month, and then I create a meal plan around it for the whole day, keeping in mind the Mediterranean diet. So let's get started with January. In January, the types of vegetables that are available are the winter root vegetables. So things like rutabagas and parsnips and turnips and potatoes, but also things like onions and shallots and garlic that add a lot of flavor to dishes. And in the fruit world, there are plenty of pears and apples around, but also citrus fruits like oranges and clementines and lemons, the kind of fruit that you need when you want to ward off things like the cold and flu symptoms. So let's see what kind of meals we can create today, keeping those vegetables in mind. Let's get started. Today I'm going to make one of my favorite breakfasts. It's avocado toast with some smoked salmon on top and an over easy egg. And I'm going to put it on this soft Italian bread that I got at the bakery. I love to buy my bread at the bakery because it doesn't have all the preservatives that the bread in the supermarket does. So it doesn't have all those unpronounceable ingredients, and it won't last as long in your household, but you know, in my household, bread doesn't last long anyway. So I don't really have to worry about it. And then I'm gonna garnish everything with some of these little grape tomatoes. Here we go. I mashed up the avocado and mixed it with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and some salt and pepper. And now we'll see if I can turn these eggs over without breaking the yolk. And there you have it, my favorite little breakfast. So you get some omega-3 fatty acids, you get the good fat from the avocado, some protein from the eggs, and a little garnish with the tomatoes. Now I'm on my way to Starbucks to get a coffee. I'm getting my usual decaf non-fat latte. I have to have my coffee for the day, and I didn't feel like making it at home. Sometimes I buy these really good beans I get from Whole Foods, and I usually drink decaf. But today I just felt like having a latte, so I can chill in the afternoon and do some work with some music on. Here's a perfect January snack. The world's largest clementine. Look how big this is. And now I'm taking a nice brisk walk in the park. As you can see behind me, there's a flock of geese. It's cold out today, but it's not super cold, so I'm just glad to be able to get out and stretch my legs. And there's just so much scenery behind me. As you can see, and it's so quiet here. Oh, except for the geese. Can you hear that? They bark. So let's take our walk. Today for lunch I'm making a little pasta dish with things that I have on hand. So I'm taking inspiration from the cover of this book. Doesn't it just look so yummy? I like to make what I call one-off pastas, where I don't make a tomato sauce, I just make a sauce out of the things that I have. And right now, seasonally, garlic and shallots and lemons are in. So I have some fettuccine nests here. I'm gonna squeeze a little lemon juice, maybe a little lemon zest. I have a handful of little grape tomatoes, I have some beautiful garlic, a shallot, and some parsley. And let's see what we can make out of this. I rough chopped the shallot, and I'm going to warm it up in a little extra virgin olive oil. Give that a head start. I'll put the garlic in next, but I don't want the garlic to be in too long because it can burn easily. Adding a little crushed red pepper. Normally I would cook in regular olive oil, not extra virgin, but because this is the basis for the entire sauce, I wanted to use extra virgin olive oil because it has much better flavor. In a minute, I'm going to add the tomatoes and the garlic. Now we got the basis of the sauce here. We got some scraped tomatoes in here. I put a lot of garlic. And I just kind of rough chop the garlic. I don't want to dice it. I want it to actually encounter some pieces in it while we're eating it now. Let that go for a couple minutes. I'm adding a little splash of white wine. I added a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper, and I'm squeezing in a little bit of lemon juice. Not a lot, just something to give it a little brightness. I'm going to put a cover on this for a couple minutes just to give the tomatoes a little bit of a chance to break down. The pasta takes about 13 to 14 minutes, so I have some salted boiling water here, and I'm going to add the pasta now. By the time the pasta is done, the sauce should be ready as well. I'm adding a little bit of pasta water. It's about my third scoop. So we've got a sauce going here. You can see it's turning into something yummy. Pasta is done and I'm about to drain it. I'm just going to reserve a little cooking water just in case we need it. Here's the final product. Sprinkle on a little parsley, a little cheese. There's lunch. You know you want some. I'm in the car again on the way to the supermarket because I think I'm going to make fish for dinner tonight. And I want to see what kind of fish they have at the supermarket. And I also want to pick up a bunch of root vegetables because I want to make a roasted dish of vegetables with all the things that are in season right now. And I think fish would go really nicely with that. And it's very Mediterranean diet. Here we are where the root vegetables are, and here are parsnips. They look like yellow carrots, but they're actually parsnips. And there's some turnips. And behind here are some rutabagas. Brussels sprouts. These are all in season right now. And if you want to make it easy on yourself, they have these soup kits that have everything in it. There's a turnip, there's some onions, there's some parsnips, some carrots. So you can make soup out of that, or you could just buy this and chop it up and roast them in the oven. And I think that's what I might do. Here's the section with some greens and things. I have a fennel at home already, so I'll put some fennel in my dish. And I have beets at home. I love beets. They bleed all over everything, so I'm going to cook them separately probably from the other vegetables. But these are all kinds of things that you can just toss in some olive oil and just put in the oven. I also like to buy fresh herbs when I'm making fish, so you can get something like thyme, or marjoram is always nice, or they have these soup herb kits which have a couple of things in it like a chili pepper and some parsley and some thyme mixed in. I'm going to get some marjoram and some thyme. On the Mediterranean diet, it's always good to eat a lot of fish. So while I'm making fish for dinner, sometimes I like to sneak my fish in at lunchtime by making a tuna sandwich or adding some tuna or maybe some canned mackerel or something to a salad. And I like to get tuna that is in olive oil. So here we have solid yellowfin tuna in extra virgin olive oil. So I'm gonna get these. In the evening, sometimes I like to have some tea. I'm a coffee person in the morning and sometimes a tea person at night. But I usually like herbal teas unless something like oolong. I love oolong tea. But I really like this Sweet Dreams and the Cozy Chamomile and the Mint Medley. I love the Mint Medley. And I like Orange and Spice. So sometimes when you want a little something at night, you're not always hungry. Sometimes you're thirsty. Maybe a cup of tea will just solve your problem. Prepared a baking sheet with some foil, and as you can see I made a separate little compartment for the beets because I don't want them to bleed all over the rest of the vegetables. So we're going to toss all these vegetables in some olive oil. I pulled the Brussels sprouts out. I'm going to put them in with everything else, but I didn't want to toss them because I was afraid they would start to unravel, but they're also going to get coated in olive oil. And then we're going to put some herbs and spices on them and bake them in the oven at 425 degrees. We'll check them in about a half hour. I coated these flounder fillets lightly in olive oil, and then I sprinkled on some fresh marjoram and some thyme sprigs. And then we're going to cover this in foil to make a little tent out of it, so we're making fish in a packet. This is naan that I bought at the supermarket. I basted it lightly with extra virgin olive oil, and I sprinkled on this same seasoning blend that I put all over the vegetables. And I'm going to warm this up in the oven about 2 minutes before we're ready to eat. Thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoyed January's recipes. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you want to know every time I release a new video. And I can't wait to do February. See you then. Bye.